What's good, everybody? My name is Dee, and welcome back to Grown Up, where you already know what we do. We talk about things in life, that grown up shit that we just keep going through on a daily basis. And today I have a little switch up. This is still part of the Now segment, which is the Naturally on a Wave, where I introduce independent artists and I interview them. But we have a special tie-in today. He also runs an amazing organization, and we're going to talk about that because it ties into his music career as well. So I'm excited that he reached out to me, and I'm glad to have him here on the podcast today. So let's get it started. Chad Harper, welcome. He is the CEO/founder of Hip Hop Saved Lives. Welcome. How are you doing?
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be on the show. And I like the name of the show, Grown Up Stuff. So yeah, let's get it popping.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right. So let's hop right into it. So Hip Hop Saved Lives is a nonprofit movement whose purpose is to redirect the effect hip hop has on the youth. So tell us how you founded your organization and give us a little more detail to add as far as what you do and what you provide and things like that.
Well, I founded the organization, I think back in 2006 when I first got the idea.
Okay. And
it was brewing with me back in 2004 when I was like, oh man, hip hop is really changing. We don't really have, the Public Enemies anymore.
Yeah.
The Tribe Called Quest, everybody was had really something conscious to say, meaningful to say. Mm-hmm. Still super highly entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. I think now when a lot of people think of conscious hip hop, they don't realize that Public Enemy sold millions of records.
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest, it's hugely popular.
Definitely.
It was just super creative, but kind of Tribe had that kind of motherland feel a little bit, but it was still very Queens, New Yorkish.
Yeah.
Public Enemies from Long Island. But anyway, I just felt like there was no more message in music,
Okay.
So I kind of wanted to kind of bring that back. And I went through a couple different routes, but it officially really, really launched in 2012 when I started my youth program called Kids Helping Kids. And I did that with a partner of mine named Joel Sicilian, who had an organization called Negro's World. Basically, we would go into the schools, educate kids about social issues through the works of humanitarians, and then have the kids write songs about what they learned, how they felt about the issue, understanding the culture of where that everyday hero that was working on that social issue lived. Because we didn't just do issues in New York or the States, but we did other countries, other continents.
Right.
Just to give kids a global perspective, Okay. So I realized, and this was through trial and error, but I kind of realized the best way to bring back conscious hip hop was to have kids create it themselves. Instead of saying okay, yeah, I get you like that, but check this out.
Right.
Didn't really work that well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So started this curriculum for kids. Got a contract with New York City schools. Worked a lot with New York City detention centers, homeless teen shelters, kids on probation. I had a lot of city contracts, and people were just blowing up my phone yo, this is great.
Yeah,
we need you everywhere.
Yeah.
So it had huge success. I had some of my kids performed at the UN here in New York. Other kids performed. We were hired by Desmond Tutu's foundation in South Africa to make an original song for him.
Wow.
I was a guest speaker at Gandhi's ashram in India. Wow. So it was super successful. It was an amazing time. I met amazing people, traveled the world. And yeah,
That sounds exciting. That's really awesome. I on this podcast, I talk about grown-up things and the struggles that we go through and how things get created, and that when we see an opportunity, we should go for it. And we never know what it leads to. And it seems like that opportunity led to an abundance of fun and excitement. So that's really great. So you've worked with incarcerated children, and you told me that inspired you to work with children whose parents have been incarcerated as well. And I know that incarceration has been a pretty huge problem in the Black community. So what services do you provide incarcerated children with to help guide them away from living a life in jail even after they become adults?
So going into the facilities here in New York City was kind of tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You meet 13, 14-year-old kids that are doing 7, 8 months, 2, 3, 4 years. But the kids that were doing like the 7, 8 months for like snatching the iPhone, it kind of hit me as a kid that kind of grew up in the suburbs, knowing like, if I snatched the iPhone, the cops would pick me up, call my parents would come get me, and that'd be about it. You know what I mean? But when you're living in the city and you're low income, you get put into the system at 13, 14 years old. So that was really tough. But we basically went in there. I had a couple different organizations that hired me to do that work. One was Carnegie Hall, where we would go in for about a month, record music with the kids based on personal life experiences. So help them write songs, record songs, and then help them perform them. And at the end of the month, we would put on a show. Their parents would come, probation officers would come, or not probation officers, but everyone in the facility, all the workers in the incarcerated facility would come. And it was just like a month program, but I developed relationships with other organizations where it was more sustainable. I would do 6-month contracts. But it was basically just songwriting about your personal experiences to get you to really kind of understand what you've been through and kind of like self-therapy type of thing,
Yes. All right. So, again, more amazing opportunities being presented to you there. So you mentioned that you were doing songwriting with them. So how has music played its role in contributing to spreading awareness about the message that you're trying to send? And did you always want to incorporate music in this process and, have it be involved?
I mean, music was the inspiration from day one. My whole thing was putting the pen and the microphone back in front of the kids. I felt like, the messages in hip hop were driving them to incarceration.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with kids and they're like, when I got first locked up, I was like, this is cool. You know what I mean? When the police put the cuffs on me, I was like, I'm about to see what's good, in jail. And then they get there and they're like, this is horrible. Yeah. But the music, had kids glorifying, you know what I mean? So for me to put the pen and the mic, back in their hands and to hear their stories and have a kid write lyrics like that and explaining that. And I had a young girl whose mother was a drug addict and she paid for her drugs through sex. And, you got a 14-year girl writing lyrics like, "Mommy, how many men gonna come in and out the house today?" And then you wonder why she got in a fight at school and picked up a lock and beat a girl in the head. You know what I mean? And she's doing like 3 years. And if she's 14 and her mom's a drug addict and prostitute, and for the system just to be like, just toss them away.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, someone has to give these kids a voice, create a platform for them to say what they're going through, because rappers aren't rapping about that.
Definitely.
They're not keeping it that real. You know what I mean? They'll tell you about the block and the heat and the beef They're not telling you about the 14-year-old girl whose mama is selling her body for crack.
Yep.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You know, you had like Tupac doing that when Brenda had a baby back in the day, but not a lot of dudes that's really picking up that torch and carrying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Definitely. I hear you. That's why I love that I'm featuring this segment where I feature all different kinds of music, because as I'm going through listening to music that you independent artists are making, I'm hearing that message now starting to, upbring. So I'm happy that this segment is doing that. So as an independent organization, nonprofit, what are some of the obstacles that you've had to face starting the organization? And what are some of the resources you've been able to use to navigate yourself through those struggles?
To get a 501c3 it was tough. There's some crazy paperwork. I didn't really know how to navigate that. I was really lucky that I had a friend who was a lawyer, and she knew someone who worked at a crazy mega law firm. And she was like, they have to donate a certain amount of hours a year for nonprofits. So she connected me with this organization called New York Lawyers for Public Interest.
Okay.
Where you basically submit your idea of what you want to do. And if they like it, they connect you with some big law firm that has a bunch of hours that they have to donate. So I got all the paperwork done, for me. They just asked me all the questions. It took about 2.5 years to actually get it in the mail.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah. And I think I went through like 3 or 4 different lawyers at the law firm, because once one lawyer is like, I reached my donation time for the year.
Yeah.
He or she's like, I'm passing you to the next one. So you can tell they didn't really want to do it, but they had to get tax breaks.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was a big help, getting the 501c3.
Yeah.
And then I feel like, was there another part of your question?
Yeah. So you said the resources you had. You were fortunate that you had a friend. But we can just move on to the next question, because I think you kind of answered that in full.
Okay.
Do you believe as a society we are starting to open our eyes a little bit more to kind of the problems and struggles, the real problems and struggles that we're having, and starting to feel a little more empathy?
I would like to credit Black Lives Matter for their global contribution. I remember 2016 when Black Lives Matter really kind of birthed in Ferguson, when Mike Brown got shot and killed by the police officer. And me and my friend traveled out there and did a documentary. And I kind of remember Black Lives Matter, they were in the streets protesting in Ferguson every day for hundreds of days. It wasn't some weekend protest. It wasn't a week or two. It was super consistent. And I feel like that's the only reason why it was able to rebirth this year. Yeah. Mainly for George Floyd, but all the other ones included. And I feel like, of course, there's still, opposition to Black Lives Matter, but it's a global movement now.
Yeah.
And I feel of course, there's other social issues, trans lives, and things of that nature. And I feel like Black Lives Matter has helped that as well. Yeah. The trans community is like, hey, wait a minute, if this is really getting some traction, it's time to hop on the wing. Yep. You know what I mean? And I feel but really, I would really like to credit Black Lives Matter for really staying consistent in 2016 and giving it that platform to rebirth again. And with that, I'm here in Brooklyn. You have it painted in the street on one of the main thoroughfares. A lot of buildings, even in Times Square, there's a big billboard that says Black Lives Matter. So in reference to, Black American issues, I feel like there's a definite huge shift. You know what I mean?
Do you think we're moving in the right direction? Do you have some hope a little bit?
I have some hope in Black Lives Matter. Do I have hope in the government? No. I feel like the pressure must continue. The intensity must stay high. Yeah. It's like they're pushing Juneteenth to be like a national holiday. And I'm just like, we didn't ask for that. We asked y'all to stop killing us.
Yeah. That was wild to me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We asked you, we want you to stop mass incarcerating us.
Exactly.
Giving us a holiday doesn't solve anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sure, it might bring awareness to that particular issue that was a couple hundred years ago, but that doesn't stop police from pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, we're going to keep giving you these tokens and pacify you, which is what they've always done.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
exactly.
Saying?
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that whole thing, I had a few words that I wanted to say about it, but it's always kind of up in the air because people, they have their own opinions. But that didn't make any sense to me. It's like, it's just another, like you said, another token, like do something better. So, do you have any advice for people who want to understand the damage that incarceration has been for the Black communities and why it's important to take a look at situations from a different perspective?
For me, because I teach subjects like this, I do my own research, and I really feel like people need to take the time to just get on YouTube and type in and watch little 3 to 5 minute videos. It does not take long. Yeah. You can sit there for half an hour and watch 4 or 5 different videos and get a huge amount of information within like 20, 30 minutes.
Exactly.
So I don't always want to just share what I feel because, people will take that, okay, that's your opinion. So my thing is always self-educate. I got homies in Kenya that call YouTube University.
Wow.
Basic, they were like, we learn more from YouTube than anything.
Yes, definitely.
It's like, if I have a problem with my new iPhone, like go on YouTube, do this, do that. Like YouTube is like educating the world.
Exactly.
So if you have any interest on learning anything, just go to YouTube, type in what you're looking for, watch 4 or 5 different videos to get different perspectives, but the information is there. Yeah. This is not the 80s, you know what I'm saying? When you had no resources but books and libraries that, were intimidating and big and thick and used vocabulary that you might not be able to comprehend. No, there's like, I don't know if you remember, like, in the late 90s, early 2000s, you could go to like Barnes and Noble and it would be like accounting for dummies. And that 4 dummies was a whole huge category. Now it's in video form on YouTube. You can put in mass incarceration for dummies and understand what's really going on. You know what I mean?
Insane. Yeah. Well, we encourage the people, please self-educate. It's the best thing to do. That's the only way that we're going to move forward as a society and be better for each other, because we need to uplift each other and we have to support each other. So how can people follow your movement and contribute to understanding and passing along your message?
Please go to hiphopsaveslivestv.com. And you can follow my work there. And also my new clothing line, which you see, the t-shirt right here, BB Fly. BB Fly, actually. Get me one. Yeah, please do. bbfly.live.
Definitely.
And so I created that because I was like, Harriet Tubman fought mass incarceration, slavery, and Malcolm X and King fought Jim Crow, and what we are facing now, is mass incarceration. Right. We have to take that as serious as they took slavery, as they took Jim Crow. Yeah. This clothing line keeps the goal is to raise money through the clothing line to fund monthly regular trips to kids to visit their incarcerated parent. Because when I work with kids who are incarcerated, I realized like big brothers are incarcerated, dads are incarcerated. That's why little brothers are incarcerated, and it's just a family trait. And because the family structure has been broken.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
But one last thing, please go on Spotify and Apple Music and look up the Brooklyn Globetrotter. That's my artist name.
Awesome.
And it's for a new project called I Am Black American.
Yes.
Which is a website I'm launching in August. I know I just gave you 3 websites, but I'm sorry.
It's okay. Links will all be in the description. Don't worry.
All right. So IamBlackAmerican.com is coming in August, and it will be music videos, short documentaries, podcast interviews, book reviews, all on Black American history. I am creating a bunch of content to give teachers and students examples, but the majority, I want teachers to sign up to the website, view the examples that I've created, and have their students create their content. So the goal is to have a entertainment, educational website for Black American history, all student content created.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, that is it, you guys. Chad Harper, CEO and founder of Hip Hop Saves Lives. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know he gave you guys a mouthful at the end, so don't worry. I got your back. All the links will be in the description below where you can click them, go directly to his websites, go check out the music, go check out the brand, the merchandise, go support, go educate, self-educate yourself on these websites as well. And please support, follow, retweet, comment, all of that stuff, because like I mentioned, we have to support each other and uplift each other, because that's the only way we're going to move forward as a society. So again, thank you, Chad, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And that's it for today, you guys. It's the Naturally on the Wave. It's Grown Up Podcast. Stay safe, be kind, and we out.
All right. Peace and love.